All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Welcome. I have a lot of message here for y'all, okay? So, bear with me. Sorry, I had to, I don't know, just see like lipstick. And you're my mirror. I hope you're doing well. Oh my God, there's a beautiful cat right now. Oh my God, he just passed by. Oh, it's so cute. Beige, white beige could be significant. Okay, so Father God has been asking me, whatever you guys want to call it, Holy Spirit, God, Yeshua, Allah, if you're actually connected to Him and learning discernment, and He's the best teacher to discern fake propaganda from the imperialists and billionaires and bloodthirsty psychopath sadist. So he's been preparing you guys for a year, right, for this moment. I do have a lot of footage. I have a lot of information that he wants me to add here, but he's been training me now for a couple months now, but it's more like I have to learn how to master it. But I'm just glad that he guided me to a couple people that has given me the encouragement, because I've been having alchemizing and transmuting since I'm a child. I have clairvoyance and I have all the gifts combined, and I'm still learning how to master it. I'm not 100%, but this is why for a lot of us seers and intuitive people who you have this gift, like God has groom you into this point and you accepted to be here during this time. So you have to, power comes with responsibility, okay? Especially I have been having this message for, I don't know, a couple of days now, and now when I look at readings and stuff, it keeps popping up. So now it's like he's teaching me until I publish it out, until I put it out there, that I can't read any other energy. So this is why I have to go back a little bit, because there's an energy where I'm supposed to this energy is particular and maybe very specific, but I will show you if I don't do this reading, I will show you in readings it keeps popping up, it keeps coming up and up until I posted it. Okay, so but yeah, we're gonna talk about a lot of things. One of them is I do have a lot of questions from the podcast, the recent one, and I saw that as well. And I want to answer some of them as well for y'all. So I'll be doing that, okay? For now, I'll be right back. You won't even feel it, okay? And then we'll tap into whatever Spirit tells me to do when I come back, okay? That we're going to start. But I know I have a couple of videos, so bear with me, bear witness as well. Remember that I will add some of them here that will have the trigger thing. But I know YouTube is now creating this whole fake censorship thing, where even though I put it's not for kids, and I put it in the thing now, YouTube is adding extra layer, so it's people like you not to see it. So please, okay, I need you guys to like and comment and share, okay? Make sure that you subscribe, that you hit the bell, so that way you know when I'm uploading videos, because there's gonna be evidence and content that Father God wants you guys to have with you, to have it as I don't know, I guess now because the journalism is failing due to the fact that it's bought by billionaires who are the psychopath criminals. A lot of y'all, wake the fuck up, okay? Fascism, he kept saying, is the last stages of humanity extinction. So if you're ready for that, and a lot of you is this is, I don't know, I hope you don't behave like you did for climate change activism, which we still have to continue. It's interlinked with genocides that is happening, Palestine, Congo, and Sudan, and the other countries. Everything is connected. It's not you can skip it. The same thing, you can't skip steps when we're working for the liberation of all the oppressed people, okay? So yeah, so we are going to talk about it a lot, okay? And also healing energy, because I know a lot of you are going through stuff. The other message that I will be, I guess I'm resume summary of what I'll be talking about throughout this week's, because that too is like amount of information is coming in, while you also amount of information of like fake propaganda that you have to like debunk and then write it and then put it on the right context and then share it. So that's what I've been doing. So if you want to keep up with me, you can go on my Instagram. Okay, all my social media is all in the description below. Okay, my TikTok as well, I'm constantly reposting, I'm constantly there. Okay, and this is why I've been like, you know, TikTok and Instagram going at it. Okay, here too, it's all the apps, right? Because the truth is exposed for you all to be aware, to wake the fuck up. That is their worst nightmare, that you guys realize that you're not slaves. You're not their slaves. You're not. We're not in that time anymore. It doesn't, it just no. And we have to start getting our power back. And I will explain to you also in the spiritual realm how it works. I'm so glad that some of the medias, independent medias, are understanding. They're looking into the physical, but also you now understand the spiritual and how it works. So I'm going to explain it to you guys, just like I do when I'm trying to explain scientific environmental reports and science term, but it's gonna be in a more language that you can comprehend. Okay, I'm still learning it myself, so if I were to say some words or something like that, I will look it up and stuff. I will suggest you look it up as well, because even I myself am learning. These are also spiritual stuff that God tells me that they do. He shows me in dream, he shows me, and he sends other people to confirm and validate what I've seen. So yes, pay attention to the signs, pay attention to everything, because God talks through everything, especially when it's his energy. If you're in that energy of truth, justice, and clarity, nobody can fuck with you. You can be manipulated and controlled, and this is your superpower. Vulnerability also, it's not a weakness, it's a superpower. Now, a lot of people also, he wants to address this energy where there was two females that their energy has been tapped into, and he showed me that one is black and one is Palestinian, and I will talk about them as well. They are on TikTok, they're heavy on TikTok and also on Instagram, but one of them has like 2 millions on Instagram. So he also wants me to show them through energy what has been done in the background to the two of them, because in his way, he's making it in a way that people see how their heart operate, and then to show you why there's like a clash between these two. It's actually yeah, so he showed me, and I will show you in readings as well. He wants me to tell you guys and show you how these two energies, where it's already like predestined that they were supposed to work together, and the entities and pyro and, you know, their dark witches and warlocks that they have in the background are actually you know, creating chaos and conflict for these two so that they can separate. Okay, so the whole point is, they're like, the fact that they made a bunch of videos against each other, that tells me like, okay, so God, you know, he's like, okay, let them, you know, let them put it out there. But eventually, after I show you the reading, I think you girls are going to end up working together, because that is the beauty of awareness, and that's how God works. Also, it talks about forgiveness, but don't forget the lesson. There's a lesson between that you need to work with each other together within yourselves. Okay, it means that shadow work hasn't been done, especially I think it's both sides at this point, and I know that blaming one race or the other for not, you know, for whatever, is like trying to blame people for, it's just sad. Like, you're working for the system, like you're literally giving that to them, the white supremacy and all these CIA and all these weird ass people that watch you and are having a laugh. Like, I heard the laugh when I was looking at this video. Like, their laugh is like their sinister, diabolical laugh, because you are, well, all of you, a good generation of you, a good portion of you are literally doing the work for them. The colonizers, the one who is oppressing you too. Now, the girl that has 2 million, she's a Palestinian, okay? I really don't suggest for you guys to, whatever it is that you're, because that is, how do I say this? Like slandering, gossiping, and doing stuff. It's a form of dark magic. It's witchcraft. So if you involve yourself in that, you were never in the cause in the first place. You were just trying to gain clout, right? The other girl that I know, like I've seen her content and stuff, she's very good. She's been on this, and you know it's not about that. It's just that right now she's the one dealing with the intense warfare, and I don't know if she's aware of it or conscious. I'm not giving excuses, because it is toxic what she's doing. It is abusive, okay, but it is a form of white supremacy, and she's being used as bait to target this girl. But the thing is, it's crazy. In the readings, I'm going to show you, they're supposed to work together. And the empires that be, all these psychotic, you know, they know. Because they're like a catalyst, these two girls. So instead of fighting each other, work together. Stop doing the job for the oppressors, okay? Yeah, so you see there's a lot, okay? So I gotta go. I'll be right back. So you won't even notice. So see you later.
Dish, and then all of my very hungry soldiers lined up from Gaza, and yes, I got in a Hummer. I couldn't help myself. And then it was time to serve the lunch, and there were hundreds of soldiers lining up for my delicious food, which they love. This soldier was one of the cutest ones, so of course I personally fed him second.
Some of you guys genuinely deserve to be at the fucking Hague for the propaganda and the bullshit that you're putting on my timeline. There is something so fucking sick and twisted about a woman coming from America, flying to Israel to feed fucking genocidal monsters like the occupation forces. Those same people rioted over the right to rape Palestinians. Those same people are routinely headshotting children. They are routinely running people over with fucking caterpillar bulldozers. They literally ran a think piece in CNN over how bad IDF soldiers feel about the fact that they routinely run over civilians, dead or alive. And this is your daily reminder that if you were just a couple miles further down, if you were trying to do this in Gaza, if you were trying to actually feed the people who have been sieged in northern Gaza for the past 2 weeks, some people haven't eaten in fucking 19 days. Can you imagine spending every single day starving? And if you tried to feed these people like Yusuf did, the occupation forces would assassinate you. Your bedfellows, your cute little soldiers, your cute little boys, you fucking they would assassinate you if you tried to do what you're doing in Palestine, if you tried to do what you're doing right now in Gaza, because they did assassinate Yusuf for trying to feed everyone else in northern Gaza. But hey, I hope the check was fucking worth it. And this is also your daily reminder that they actually did charge journalists and propagandists in the Nuremberg trials. You normalizing genocide is your cross to bear. But if you were a couple miles down, your cute little soldiers would have assassinated you.
Right now in North Gaza, the IOF are separating male Palestinians from the rest of the population and sending some to concentration camps while outright executing others. Let's talk about why this is happening and what it means in the larger context of genocide. The systematic targeting and killing of males is called androcide. Oppressors target males, especially those quote-unquote battle age between 15 to 55, because they're seen as the biggest threat. By eliminating men, oppressive regimes can effectively fracture society, prevent future resistance, and slow population growth all at the same time. In fact, androcide seems to be a very common feature of many genocides throughout history. During the Armenian genocide, eliminating the men was a key part of the plan to ethnically cleanse eastern Anatolia. Armenian men, who were traditionally the head of households, were targeted by Turks, while women, children, and elderly were sent on death marches towards the Syrian desert. The same thing happened in the Bosnian genocide during the Srebrenica massacre. Boys as young as 14 were separated from the rest of the population and mass executed, while women, children, and elderly were expelled. And in the Anfal genocide, Kurdish men were targeted by Iraq to reduce their ability to fight back in the future, resulting in over 180,000 Kurds and Assyrians unalive by the end of the Iraq-Iran war. These are just a few examples, but there are many more from around the world. And as a society, this can have lasting consequences for generations. After the Cambodian genocide, up to 70% of working-age men were killed, which led to women picking up much of the slack and taking up leadership positions previously held by men. Today, women, especially widows, make up 60 to 80% of the population in some parts of Cambodia. Oppressors are well aware that in order for an ethnic cleansing campaign to be fully effective in the long term, the male population must be strangled to prevent future uprisings. And the whole reason I'm making these connections is to further crystallize that what is happening now is genocide, even if our leaders don't acknowledge it, which they probably never will. The unfortunate reality is that most genocides are not recognized by the people who carry them out. To this day, Turkey doesn't recognize the Armenian genocide. The US has still not recognized or apologized for the genocide of Native Americans, and it's likely that Israel and the United States will never recognize the genocide in Gaza. But when we know our history, we don't need the acknowledgement of our leaders, the UN, or even the ICJ to call this exactly what it is. So if you made it this far and you want to help, here's what you can do. There's a public action toolkit in my link tree and other quick 3-minute tasks that you can do today, including sending a letter to the UN General Assembly President to expel Israel from the UN. If you're in the position to donate monetarily, please consider purchasing and donating an eSIM, which is a vital way for reporters and families in Gaza to connect with the outside world. My studio is also running a fundraiser where we're selling this shirt that I wear in all my videos, and all proceeds will go to Palestine. And there's just a few days left to place a pre-order if you want one. As always, continue boycotting all Israeli products and complicit brands, and you can use an app like Boycott to help you avoid them. And lastly, now is a good time to connect with the local group, find community, and get organized. That's how we're going to be able to take this all to the next level and do this in the long term. So reach out to an organization near you, or you can check out the Conscious Citizens, which is a community that we started to help us all be more politically engaged. Whatever it is, do at least one thing today in support of a free Palestine.
Well, these are my colleagues, very brave medics, doctors, nurses, medical students, not at least nurses, paramedics in the ambulance services, who have been hard-boiled through the last 17 years of siege and repetitious attacks. I've been working with them side by side, shoulder to shoulder with them during many of the attacks. And I have a very deep respect and admiration for their very strong moral, not leaving their people, not escaping, but rather risking their lives in order to support their people. But of course, and I have to say that I am appalled by the silence of the international medical organizations, in particular the medical associations of the European countries and the United States. Where are the doctors' organizations in Europe, in the United States, in Canada, in Australia? We don't hear a word from them protesting these atrocities. Imagine if all these hospitals had been Israeli hospitals, if some enemy had attacked and bombed and killed patients inside Israeli hospitals, we would have heard a landstorm of protests. Now it's complete silence, and this makes them all complicit. And I'd like also to underline the immense efforts by the Minister of Health in Gaza, the Palestinian Minister of Health, Dr. 𝓂𝓃Prt and his staff. These people are carrying the moral compass of the world today. This last attack, as you rightly said, the Israeli forces even fell as low as to destroy the oxygen concentration machine, which provides oxygen for the hospital. I'm an emergency doctor, and oxygen for us is the gas of life. And the kids that died in the ICU died from a man-made lack of oxygen. And this says everything about the disrespect for human life that Netanyahu and the Israeli occupation forces are showing in northern Gaza.
I have to bring this to the conversation, and I hope that this goes viral. I pray it goes to the left, the right, leftist, socialist, whoever. I pray this is the one that goes viral. And this needs to be taken the way I'm saying it. Many of us who live at the margins, like myself, who are intersectional, right? Multi-ethnic, Afro-Indigenous, all that stuff. People think that we are against Kamala, and maybe some of us are. We're after a system. We're after the two-party system that pits us against each other every election cycle, because there always has to be a Trump, and there always has to be a Kamala. There always has to be a Trump. There always has to be a Biden. There always has to be a Biden. There always has to be, as they're corralling us back and forth, and the only winners in this are the people who are running. That's it. Our food is still poison. Our water is still dirty. Most of our taxpayer dollars are going to fight foreign wars and to commit genocides in other lands, doing proxy wars against other countries like Russia and Ukraine, like Palestine, like Congo, like Sudan, like Kenya. All of these things are interconnected. And what they're doing this time is venomous, because it's working against progress. Putting up Vice President Kamala Harris now had to be strategic. With 4 months or less left of the election, it was intentional. It was intentional. Using a Black and Indian woman to literally tear apart marginalized communities to make it seem as if this is an anti-Black issue, when this is not an anti-Black issue. I'm not anti-Black. Palestinians are not anti-Black. They're not. Palestinian solidarity goes back to civil rights, even before then. In the beginning of the Black Lives Matter protest, Palestine was all on board for us because they saw themselves in our fight. And even Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, Bayard Rustin, Mr. Baldwin, they all saw our fight as the same as Palestinians. And they see themselves in Sudanese and Congolese. And here's what's going on. They don't have the time to protest for Sudan. They don't have the time to protest for Congo. They don't have the time to do same-sex marriage. They don't have the time. They don't have the infrastructure, because remember something, Palestine has no formal army. They have no formal army. They have no court. They have nothing. All of their justice, even their resources, their clean water, all of those things come through Israel. A westernized territory that was made sovereign by foreign powers to de-Arabize and to destabilize the Middle East and Northern Africa. Let's talk about it. To destabilize the Levant and to control resources. And many of us are angry because Kamala Harris is helping break molds, but they're using her against us, not for us. And that is unfair. But that is a two-party, fascist, genocidal, oligarchical government that is doing so. Because you have to look at it like this. When the Democratic Party is removing leftists, like myself, removing leftists from their party, that is a sign. When many Americans do not know this, that liberal and conservative are on the same side of the spectrum, that liberals are centrists, that they're on the same side. Because at the end of the day, here's what happens. When politicians leave office, they're still going back to their millions. They're still going back to their high rises. They're returning back to their cushion. It is the American people, it is Palestinians, it is Congolese, it is Sudanese, it's Kenyan, it's Haitian, it's victims of Cop City, it's Flint, Michigan, it's PFAS water, it's indigenous contamination from lithium. We're going back to those same places. And if we don't realize the power of our vote and the power of our unity, what they're going to keep doing is changing the face of the Democratic Party, changing the face of the Republican Party, but doing nothing for their base. We are the power. The power is not in the judicial branch. It's not in the executive branch. It's not even in the House. It's in the field. And we together are on the same field. And for hundreds of years, we've been told that we are different. We are exactly the same. It is an intersectional, interconnected fight. We are not against Kamala. We're against what she represents. We're not just against Trump. We're against what his party represents. We're against the party. And because we're so individualized, people think that we're anti-Black or we're betraying the race, when we're not. We're calling these things out. No one is above critique, and no one is above criticism. If you choose to vote for Kamala, then do that. Do that. Vote with your consciousness. We're aware. I'm deeply aware of civil rights. I'm deeply aware of these things. I'm deeply aware of voter disenfranchisement. We're all aware of it. But at the end of the day, the two-party system has to be abolished, and there has to be disruptors. Or the same things that happened to our parents and our grandparents and our great-grandparents are happening and will continue to happen to us and our children and our children's children. Because at the end of the day, in right-wing led countries, universal health care, paternal, maternal leave, those things are not threatened. Those things are not taken because those are universal rights. Inalienable. Inalienable. Feel me? And when we turn one into a savior, you can't say that MAGA are delusional for calling Trump their savior when liberals are doing the same thing, when they're saving no one but themselves, and folks that agree with them. I'm here for the folks that don't agree with them too, because this is a bipartisan, interconnected, intersectional fight. Both Republicans, Democrats, the right, the left, leftists, everyone deserves the same rights, the same equity, the same clean water, the same climate change action, the same. And they cannot keep leveling those rights against us every single election cycle to scare us into their pockets and into their mouths.
The question that I get a lot, does Israel have the right to exist?
That's a useless question. What is the purpose of this question? Is this supposed to scare me? All of these questions, does Israel have the right to defend itself? Does Israel have the right to exist? All of these questions are insincere and ingenuous, and it comes from a place of deceit and dishonesty. So all of these questions are tricks. The UK, tomorrow, if Scotland secedes, there's no more UK. Yugoslavia, overnight, got broken into 7 countries. This whole thing about does Israel have the right to exist,
Countries change.
it's a useless question, and it's meant to waste time, to get you into all of these labyrinth of questions, to avoid talking about the real issue, which is the occupation and the land theft and the aggression. This is the whole idea about the Western media. It's a circus. There's short-term memory, as it doesn't matter if you came in and you give them a whole history of the Palestinian problem and the Israeli-Palestine conflict. The next day, they're going to ask the same question as if you didn't say anything. It's entertainment coliseum.
Yeah.
On that note, do you condemn Hamas?
Yeah, come on. Come on.
Special operations member and is now a geopolitical analyst for Mint Press News, and he joins us also from the US, from Austin, Texas. So we've heard from the US that they've been aware of all of this. How sophisticated do you think this attack is by the Israelis, and also the US military role in any of this, if at all?
Well, first of all, I would characterize it not necessarily as unsophisticated, but certainly performative. There's nothing that it really accomplished. So we've just seen a second wave. They're sending UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles, most likely drones, quadcopters. They don't have a very long range. So where did they come from? Probably not Israel, because they would have had to pass through Jordanian and Iraqi airspace, most likely. Iraq, Turkey, potential places for launch. But again, we're not going to know any of that right now. The reason it doesn't make a lot of sense from a military perspective, if you're trying to do actual damage, is because of basic air defense theory, which is if you want to overwhelm an air defense system, you need to either achieve one or two things: saturation, where you present so many targets that the air defense system is completely overwhelmed and has to start picking which targets to intercept, or depletion, where it runs out of ammunition and they have to reload. And reloading a lot of these air defense systems takes 20 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes. You have to go get the ammunition from one place, bring it to the air defense battery, use a crane, load it up. So what you would try to do if you're actually trying to hit targets, this is conventional military doctrine, you would do what we call flood the zone. Have so many targets that you achieve saturation and depletion so that you can finally get through the air defense system and start putting rounds on target, hitting military targets, whatever you want to do.
And of course, that's exactly what the Iranians have been doing, as well as Hezbollah and Hamas, both Iranian backed groups that have been consistently trying to overwhelm the Iron Dome system in Israel. And certainly that's what we saw when we've seen drones at lower altitude and much more higher numbers of casualties. Now, in terms of it being the other way round, what's the Iranian air defense system like?
I mean, it's comparable to what the United States has. It varies in technology and capacity, but it's a multi-layered defense for low, medium, high altitude things. Israel has the Iron Dome, David Sling, Arrow 2, and now they have an American THAAD battery. And like the Iranians, they have a multi-layered air defense system, but that's comparable and effective at intercepting. Obviously, they intercepted these UAVs, which it looks like UAVs. They weren't fighter craft. They weren't ballistic missiles. We know that through image intelligence that we're actively getting right now. So yeah, there's no way that they thought that would penetrate a Russian air defense system, especially since the Israelis get intelligence information from the United States, who have been fighting and assisting the Ukraine in trying to penetrate Russian air defense systems in the Ukraine war. So it just seems beyond performative. Now, there might be other waves, but they haven't achieved saturation or depletion. So it's not really going to achieve anything right now. Right now, the Iranian military is reloading those batteries for another wave. And so it really hasn't achieved much.
Okay, thanks very much, Craig Stoker, who's a former US Army Special Operations member, and always good to hear your thoughts on the military aspect of things. Good to speak to you.
Thank you.
كل شيء فقدناه في هذا المستشفى حتى أبنائنا. كل شيء عملنا حرقوا قلوبنا، قتلوا ابني. حرقوا قلوبنا على المستشفى، حرقوها بالكامل، قتلوا ابني. عشان احنا بنقدم رسالة إنسانية، أولادنا يقتلوا ودفنت ابني في صالة المستشفى. على هذا كله كان جزانا إن أولادنا ينقتلوا أمامنا وندفنهم بأيدينا. الوضع بشكل عام كارثي جدا. كان بعد طبعا انسحاب الجيش أخذ أو اعتقل ما يقارب 31 شخص من الكوادر الطبية، فأعدادنا الآن أصبحت قليلة. الآن المتواجد في مستشفى كمال عدوان أنا كدكتور حسام، معي طبيب آخر يعني طبيبين إحنا، وعندي أكثر من 145 جريح حتى الآن موجودين، منهم طبعا خدمات جراحية أكثر. ما عندي أي الخدمة هاي غير موجودة، ما عندي أنا ستاف أو كادر طبي يقدم هذه الخدمة الجراحية. طبعا نشدنا العالم وبالناشد يفتحوا ممر إنساني، إدخال الطواقم الطبية اللي تحاول تنقذ ما يمكن إنقاذه من الجرحى، لأنه أنا كل شوي بفقد قاعد من المصابين بيتحولوا إلى شهداء، وصار في عندنا أعداد كبيرة منهم استشهدوا لعدم وجود إمكانيات. طبعا هناك مركبات الإسعاف تم إعدامها بشكل كامل، وبالتالي إحنا بنطالب العالم بإدخال سيارات الإسعاف حتى نحاول نقل الحالات ما بين المستشفيات. يجب إخلاء عدد من المرضى بشكل عاجل لأنه محتاجين تدخل أو عمليات جراحية لمستشفياتنا في غزة. الآن أصنافنا كلها أصبحت صفرية، ما في أي شيء نقدمه صراحة. يعني المنظومة منهارة بشكل كامل يعني. طبعا الظروف اللي اشتغل فيها الجيش الإسرائيلي كما يبدو كانت علينا قاسية جدا، يعني لا يمكن وصف ما رأينا من طبعا معاملة في المستشفى كما يبدو. بصراحة وضع كارثي ومحتاجين حماية دولية. للإصلاف الموجود حاليا محتاجين حماية دولية ومتابعة للي تم اعتقالهم والإفراج عنهم. إحنا رسالتنا إنسانية.
Okay, hi y'all. It took a while, but we're back here. Okay. Holy God, Holy Spirit, protect us while we go through this. Okay. Okay, so we're going to show you the behind the scenes of what you witness of any videos or anything that you see here. Is going to be interlinked, like connected. Okay, so it's kind of like, it's not trying to confuse you or anything like that. Remember, God doesn't do things or say things to confuse. He's not the master of lying. Okay, that's the enemy, the other side. Okay, constantly pathologically lying, narcissists, you sadists, and all kinds of dark energy, demonic. Okay, you need to understand these concepts. Okay, it's important. All right, those people who are above you, who control money and stuff, they are heavily afraid that you guys know this kind of stuff. Okay, so pay attention. Okay, this is wisdom to you. Okay, and also for healing purposes, because I know I'm not the only one in this. A lot of us went through kind of like a global ego death. Maybe I'll talk about it a little bit in a podcast, but for now, this is very specific, and there's like 90 something videos I have to like push out. Okay, so bear with me. Okay, please use the discernment take what resonates and leave what doesn't. If it doesn't resonate, then leave it for somebody who might, okay? Please help us here in the channel, okay? Also in all the platforms now, because all of them are kind of like all over the place trying to censor, and I see it. We see it. It's as clear as day. We already know, we're specified this, that they are all complicit of genocide. And I have multiple proof about it, of that, okay? All of us do, okay? At least those who are paying attention, reading, and knowing what's going on in the world. I really don't know how most people are surviving right now. And the whole thing is that I was so surprised of so many people having the energy and audacity to speak up intensely and show so much negativity there, going back to the same entity who actually is keeping them also oppressed. Wow, white supremacy and those people, or media, really have done a work on you, have they? But the thing is, it's not really, you can't blame it all on them, okay? You have to also take accountability. You want those people in power to take accountability, you also have to do it too, okay? So this is part of the colonization and shadow work that a lot of y'all, you don't want to do. And this is what the problem is that we are projecting. The same thing that they're doing to us, we're projecting, and we're not being productive or counterproductive, or I don't know what the word, but all I'm saying is that fighting amongst each other, the oppressed, I'm speaking, okay? I have another one that I'm speaking to white people as well. There's no division really, but it's weird that I have to do that. Like, I love that any Middle Easter, this is what I love, to just be around them, or anybody who doesn't have that like racial white supremacy programming, because it is programming. It is a dark sea that it needs to be cut off. This is why we're saying that indigenous culture, healing practices, holistic, any holistic energy combined with communism and or socialism, whatever is going on that we need to be working on, creating coalition, creating whatever we need to combine and unify as one. There's no discrimination, and there's no racism or anti-capitalism energy, or like really shifting. But that's something that has to come through us, like little actions that we do that create that impact, right? So you can expect that everything is gonna rely on other people, okay? So that's what I was saying. It's like, you want accountability, then you have to also take accountability. So yeah, most of these people that has so much energy, I was just like, wow, where were you? Look at all that energy, but only for hate, only to do something so diabolical, so evil. And I'm gonna show you guys. Don't take all the fault, oppressors. Do not. This is actually part of the liberation, and this is why I want to share this with you, okay? It's my gift to you, okay? And hopefully that the fact that I'm gonna show you some way also that you learn how to do it yourself, to heal yourself, to look at it yourself, okay? Please respect the spiritual realm, just like we're supposed to respect a lot of things, morally and values, and you're not supposed to kill children and bomb innocent people, civilians, and bomb hospitals, and kidnap people, and then like hold them hostages. 9,000. I don't care what you have to say anymore. A lot of you, like, I see in the resistant energy how they are completely protecting those 111 hostages, which most of them, they don't want to leave. They're like, no, please keep us. We don't want to go back to Israel. Absolutely not. Who the fuck, like, at this point, are we that delusional? Like, who the hell wants to go there? Oh, okay. Only psychopaths and genocidal enablers and narcissists, sadists, pedophiles, right? Rapists, yeah. They have a state. They're allowed to have a state. People with no morals, ethic, empathy, killers, right? And then we have those that they think because they have money that they can be serial killers as well. Mass murders, okay? In the hidden, because they bought the media that is telling us what is going on in the world, but not really though, because I want to look like the savior. But I'm still taking your money, your energy, siphoning energy. That's what I'm here to show you guys through tarot. Yes, we're going to use the same thing that they demonize and they try to dehumanize us for having these gifts, okay? I have no idea. Some of the stuff, like, I don't even understand. I have to go and pray and ask spirit and like, okay, because some of the stuff that I see or learned, it's ancient. So I can't like turn it off anymore, because now it's like, if I turn it off, it's impossible because then it turns off my, courage and empathy and resilience to continue this work, even though it is hard. Like, I come here to not only, like educate and share and motivate and stuff, but also like share spiritual wisdom, which requires energy, right? So anything that you guys give, please, there's olive branch links. There's a Congo and Sudan going through massive famine, all this energy that should not have been happening, but it is happening. And I know a lot of y'all is like, yeah, but we barely have enough to eat. And I understand that too, okay? Most of us are barely like, have like 3 to 4 jobs, like it's intense, right? But at the same time, just like you have to continue this until the shift, because there is going to be, it's already like I'm telling you guys, I've been predicting this from 5-7 years now, okay? There is going to be a change of system. I don't know if it's this lifetime or the next, but it is going towards there, okay? There is major consequences for these people. This is why I don't know where this confidence is coming from, because I don't really, like, I just care about people. Like, I can't turn it off. I feel everything. This is why I meditate, and like unconditional love is not something that can be turned off. Feeling heart, being vulnerable with you and everybody else, like trying to be authentic at the same time, while also like, yeah, but I'm not complaining or anything like that. I'm grateful for everything. It's just that I see what's behind the scenes, and I've been like quiet so that I don't sound crazy or that I don't know what I'm talking about, or that I can, like that constant doubt and stuff like that. And I was like, man, like, I wonder if people are going through this as well. And then I was, you get curious and you start research. Like, I mean, that's me. I research, and my love language is that, right? Research. And understanding human behavior and the environment that is connected with nature. As an environmental scientist, that's what I got so disappointed when I finished university, because it was either give your integrity away, sign a non-disclosure agreement, and by the way, don't show all the data. And I was just like, I wasted 4 years and I'm still paying loans for something that it was just like, it's good to know the principles and the values and the structure and how capitalism works in terms of environment and science, which are both different things, but when you study together, and also the whole, like, I'm mixing it with spirituality as well, and what's connecting it with social justice and climate justice, and everything is interconnected. Everything is we are multi-dimensional beings. It's just sad that we have this just little percentage that steals. They steal. Capitalism is those who are capitalists who will endorse this, who support this instead of embracing equality, justice, the right one. But the thing is, most of the things that they do is injustice and corruption, and it's not the right thing. So this is why they invest so much money, make that your confirmation, on propaganda and media to hide their crimes, to hide the corruption, okay? And then that's the thing, their belief is that because they have all that money that they take, and it's not only in the physical, that's what I'm here for as well. It's not just it's not just in the physical, it's in the spiritual. So I'm here to show you. It's a validation proof for those who think that, oh my God, am I going crazy? No, you're not. Most of us are psychic. Yes. It's just you have to learn how to nurture. And that's what you learn when you go through the colonization. You realize a lot of things. That's the ego death, the shadow work. Anyways, I talk more about this on Your Story Matter podcast, okay? And here I have plenty of videos, okay? But let's dive into this, because it's intensely a lot, and I understand for a lot of you it's like, oh, it's just talking and you don't know what I'm saying for most of you. So that too, I was trying to find the right words, the right things to explain this spiritual realm. But I feel like a lot of you who actually do the work, this is for people who do the work, okay? Please use your discernment. Please do your own research. I'm just a guidance. Please don't idolize me. Don't analyze tarot or anything like that. This is just guidance, okay? It's tools that I use for what I already seen. And I know a lot of people say, well, dreams are just like, it could be anything. Dreams could be memory. Dreams could be path, could be guidance, could be messages, right? So dreams are multidimensional as well, because they are connected to the spiritual realm, which it is here. Which is hard to, because in the physical, for a lot of us, we've been programmed and conditioned and taught that doesn't exist, that's bogus, right? That's just the Lulu, right? Or that 5D or all this doesn't really exist. It does exist. It does. And we all have capability of that. It's just we haven't been taught that, because it does take time to learn, to nurture, to get in the right place, to use discernment in the spiritual realm, because the spiritual realm is also connected with the dark world, just like us in here in the physical, okay? So you have to learn masquerade spirit, monitor spirits, all kinds of weird spirits while you are in the spiritual realm. So the best teacher for all of y'all is Father God. The Bible, the Quran, the Quran, the Torah, any holy book, ancient book, it was written by men that received channel messages just like this, okay? And they decided to write it. But remember, back then, they were all colonizers. Yeah, they had the mentality of colonize. Yeah. It's okay, let that sink in. Breathe. So, here's other videos.
Sudan is bleeding, and the rest of the world continues to look away. In Jazeera State, a heartbreaking massacre has unfolded as RSF inflict a campaign of terror on unarmed citizens, targeting them with brutal violence. Entire villages have been raided, with more than hundreds of people reported to be killed. The RSF is systematically abducting men and boys who are either forced into labor, coerced into the militia, or disappear without a trace. Women and girls already enduring unimaginable suffering have become targets of sexual violence by the RSF. Harrowing reports circulating of mass suicide of women out of fear of rape and abduction. Horrific acts of sexual violence by the RSF are conducted in public, often before family members, to instill a lasting sense of humiliation and horror. People are sharing devastating stories of their families shot and killed by the RSF, of women raped in dialysis centers, and of children as young as 6 years old assaulted. 30 villages were attacked in the span of 4 days, and in one village, more than 400 people were estimated to be killed. This isn't just violence, it's a calculated campaign of terror aimed at obliterating the spirit and survival of an entire population. The RSF is a UAE-backed militia. The blood of the Sudanese people is on the hands of the UAE. It's on the hands of the Janjaweed. It's on the hands of our so-called leaders. Sudan continues to bleed. We continue to shout, and the rest of the world continues to look away.
We will plant it with Allah's help. A campaign launched by the Palestinian agricultural engineer 𝂀𝆃Prt several months ago to combat starvation caused by the genocide against Gaza. He planted in homes and shelters that housed the displaced people. He was the first to reclaim and cultivate large areas in the northern Gaza Strip. He brought life back to the land and to the people, who finally found something to eat. After the Israeli occupation had closed all the borders and prevented them from all kinds of food, the Palestinian youth, 𝂀𝆃Prt, refused to abandon his land and home, remaining steadfast in his city, Beit Lahia, North Gaza.
إنه ممكن إحنا يتم استهدافنا في أي وقت. حكى لي مدام الشغلة بتفيد البلد مش مشكلة.
His simplest rights did not please the Israeli occupation, so they killed him, just as they have killed hundreds of Palestinian civilians in a Holocaust being carried out in northern Gaza for more than 2 weeks. A Holocaust that targeted people, land, homes, hospitals, and shelters, affecting every aspect of life.
لأنه الاحتلال ما بده أي شيء أو أي حد.
In a single village in Jazeera State, Central Sudan, more than 500 people have been killed. The RSF have lined up the men of the village and killed each one of them. Bodies are scattered on the street. The women of the village are now killing themselves. Up to 100, we've been hearing reports of 100 women committing suicide just so they could protect themselves from the RSF, sexual violence and sexual terrorism. For an entire week, the RSF have been committing a lot of massacres and genocides all over Jazeera State. They have lined up children and shot them at their heads. They have killed patients in hospitals. They have killed people with disabilities, actually slaughtered people with disabilities. All because an RSF commander has surrendered to the army. Central Sudan, Jazeera is bleeding. SOS.
So much money and time and energy goes into making you and making me feel helpless and hopeless and powerless to change anything about the world around us. That's how important your voice is. Tons of resources are constantly being poured into making you feel like you don't have it. I don't know about you, but when I hear that, I'm like, that's my enemy. Enemy number one, people who are spending their money and energy and time making us, dedicating their lives to making us feel like we can't do anything to change the world around us. That's our enemy. And I will be damned if I let my enemy win. So next time you feel helpless and powerless, remember, that's not just a natural occurrence, that is by design, which means that every time you use your voice, you speak up, you organize, you take action, you're wasting their money. You're wasting their time and energy that went into making you feel like you couldn't do that. Doesn't that feel good?
Israel is weaponizing starvation to move Palestinians from the north to the south, and how Gaza has been systematically starved over the last decades. The General's Plan. Human rights groups have been reporting that Israel is pursuing a controversial plan in 2 phases. Phase 1. An evacuation order to leave North Gaza. Israeli military prevents the entry of humanitarian aid into northern Gaza, and forcing the already displaced residents by laying a full siege. Anyone remaining will be a military target. Phase 2. Transform northern Gaza into a closed military zone under full blockade. Israel denies supplies, including food, water, and fuel.
الظروف هناك صعبة جدا ومأساوية، والاحتلال ما زال حتى اللحظة يقوم بالاستهداف للمنازل، للطرقات، لكل شيء. الاحتلال يهدم كل شيء في جباليا، يستخدم الأسلحة شديدة الانفجار في تدمير البيوت وتدمير الطرقات. طواقم الدفاع المدني والطواقم الطبية تعجز بشكل واضح من الوصول إلى هذه الاستهدافات وهذه المناطق التي يتم استهداف المواطنين فيها، سواء داخل المنازل أو خارج المنازل. ولذلك هناك أعداد كبيرة من المواطنين على الطرقات، ما بين شهيد وما بين جريح منذ أيام طويلة.
Israeli military has ordered the reported 400,000 civilians in northern Gaza to evacuate, closing crossings and cutting off food, electricity, drinking water, and aid for those who remain. But the General's Plan hasn't been the only time that starvation has been used as a weapon.
200 patients and only 1 doctor. This is the situation of Kamal Adwan Hospital the main hospital in the northern Gaza Strip after Israeli occupation forces invaded it, detaining doctors and patients, arresting some of them, and killing several civilians inside and around the hospital, including the youth Ibrahim, the son of Dr. Hassam Abu Safia, the hospital director. He refused to abandon the hospital and the patients for 3 weeks, despite the Israeli occupation's threats. For hours, Israeli occupation forces committed atrocities within the hospital. They destroyed, vandalized, smashed, exploded, and bulldozed. Before they withdrew, leaving behind a devastated hospital, a grieving hospital director mourning his son, several female staff members, and only one doctor to care for around 200 patients. They killed 3 children in the intensive care unit after bombing the oxygen chamber.
I mean, I'm not sitting here saying I'm a supporter of the Palestinians. I'm used to it. Yeah, I hope your beeper doesn't go off. The thing is that
you just say I should die. You should not.
No, I just said I should be killed. No, I did not say that. No, I did not.
The surprised look on this guy's face, who is a conservative by the way, was not because he said something Islamophobic to a Muslim guy and got called out for it. It was because he got called out for an incident that was celebrated by mainstream liberal media as precise, smart, intelligent attack and was never condemned in the first place. An attack that was so indiscriminate that took the lives of 2 Lebanese kids. An incident that was celebrated by many mainstream media regardless of their political affiliation. And he was surprised about this fake pretentious outrage because why are you guys talking to me about this? You have been normalizing this rhetoric for more than a year, and especially on the CNN. And CNN after that incident released a statement condemning this bigotry and they banned this guy from ever appearing in their network. And after that incident, Abby Phillip, CNN correspondent and anchor, released this statement condemning this behavior. Because Abby Phillip, the same woman who released the statement apologizing to that behavior to Mehdi Hassan, was one of the first contributors to the atrocity propaganda of 40 babies. And she never apologized for repeating and endorsing this propaganda. A propaganda that was done systematically to give cover to whatever will be done to the people of Gaza since October 7th. In fact, in September, the bigot Jake Tapper on CNN claimed fake quotes on behalf of Rashida Tlaib and lied on her behalf. He claimed that Rashida Tlaib said something about a Michigan Attorney General because she is Jewish, although Rashida Tlaib never claimed that, and he never retracted that statement. And a few weeks later, in mid-October, he released a 7-minute segment, a hate piece against a group of Arab Muslim Americans living in Michigan because they refused to vote for Kamala Harris. A segment that was so Islamophobic that I did not believe that I saw this. Only difference between the conservative and liberal mainstream media is the aesthetics. Conservative mainstream media will be true to themselves, will show you their bigotry to your face. But liberal mainstream media will release bigoted segments, and then they condemn you when you use the same rhetoric in these segments to show your bigotry. In fact, Islamophobia and anti-Arab bigotry is so normalized not only in the mainstream media but also at branches in the government. This woman is the head of the convoy to combat anti-Semitism in the Department of State in the United States of America. She used exactly the same talking point that this guy used in CNN. Listen to her.
There was a feeling around the world that Israel is weaker, and in the
you want a beeper?
I would love if these people can stop their fake outrage. If these people were actually serious about combating anti-Arab bigotry or Islamophobia, they wouldn't have used their platform in order to amplify and influence Zionist anti-Arab rhetoric for more than a year in order to justify what they have been doing to the Palestinians in Gaza. And this is also a lesson to Mehdi Hassan. No matter what you want to appease in the liberal side of American political spectrum, they will never approve of you because you're still a Muslim guy. Because Mehdi Hassan had been using his new platform Zeteo in order, to push people to vote for Kamala, and it has been so embarrassing for the past month. It's so embarrassing.
Israel's parliament just passed a law to ban the United Nations Agency for Palestinian Refugees from operating in Israel and the occupied West Bank. The Israeli parliament is translating genocidal policies into national law, codifying the killing and starvation of millions of Palestinians with the aim of erasing current and future generations. And the two bills were backed by the vast majority of Israel's parliamentarians, I think 100 out of 120, proving without a doubt that Israel's entire government is fascist and anti-UN and anti-international law, not just the far-right politicians. The whole system is corrupt. So while the world sits here and talks about increasing humanitarian aid to Gaza, Israel is taking moves to try to legalize that which is clearly illegal under international law. And surprise, surprise, the US response is to voice deep concern over Israel's plans. Germany and the UK chose to use the word grave instead of deep in expressing their concerns. And the UK, the British government, went so far as to say that Israel's reputation as a democracy is deeply harmed by this decision. Well, I say, what a load of bullshit. First of all, Israel is not a democracy. It's an ethnocracy, a settler colonial project in which one ethno-national group dominates over others. If ever there was a time to sanction and suspend Israel from the United Nations, this would be it. But of course, that won't happen, because the US continues to protect Israel from any accountability. Israel's own foreign ministry officials have been warning that this bill, if passed, which it has been now, will threaten Israel's membership in the UN for violating its charter. The challenge, of course, is that the US has maintained its position as the largest funder of the United Nations, providing about 20% of the total budget. In 2022, it increased its funding by about $5.6 billion, reaching an all-time high of $18 billion, which is just a few $billion less than the US has sent to Israel in the last year alone. Now, the ICC has not issued the arrest warrants against Netanyahu and Gallant because the US and the UK continue to pressure the ICC not to do so. So by passing this bill, Israel is in fact openly violating international law as a member state of the UN. It has to abide by its charter. By blocking a UN agency, especially in occupied territories during a genocide, they are flagrantly violating the UN Charter and international law. So Israel, of course, is counting on the US and the UK and Germany to continue to save them from any consequences, to continue to grant them impunity from the ICJ, from the ICC, and the credibility of those organizations as well as Western powers is hanging by a thread. I mean, if they cannot protect an essential agency like UNRWA, an agency that they have established and funded, from Israel, they can't protect it from this rogue state that's waging genocide and an illegal occupation for almost 6 decades. If the best they can do is express grave or deep concern, we're not just in a crisis. I mean, and by the way, Israel's cabinet also just approved another attack against Iran in response to the attack against Netanyahu's home. So, I guess it's October and surprise, surprise, we're here.
%. That's how much the US taxpayer has funded the genocide of Gaza. The American genocide of Gaza through our client state, our occupation, 70% funded by us. That's according to the Watson Institute. If you remember that post I made about just how much US taxpayers paid for the quote-unquote war on terror, the invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan and such, which was somewhere in the vicinity of $8 trillion, that's the Watson Institute. This is what they do. They analyze the cost of war. And while they pointed out that there is a profound lack of transparency regarding the genocide of Gaza, without a doubt, even a conservative estimate, it's the most we've ever sent to Israel in a year, ever, just to help fund the genocide of Gaza. You can see how it's an incredible amount of jet fuel, so it's our fuel every time a plane goes over, and then just munitions, which is, Netanyahu's on record as saying that's all they ever need is just endless munitions, with a couple of other, night vision devices and some, tactical vehicles and whatnot. A lot of people don't understand how this relationship works because they think that we send money to the Zionist occupation and they spend it on stuff. What actually happens generally is that we allocate the money to Israel and then we just immediately it goes into the pockets of American corporate military industrialists. I'm going to read directly from the end of the article. According to an analysis by the Washington Post, nearly 60% of the supplemental aid packages signed in April 2024 went directly to U.S. weapons manufacturers to replenish stocks and expand production capacity. Citation 85. It's difficult to estimate exactly how much of the $14 billion designated for Israel is going directly to U.S. firms, but $1.6 billion was provided to build additional missile defense systems for Israel, which is like Iron Dome and David Sling and all that barely functional nonsense. Another $1.6 billion to replenish U.S. military stock, such as artillery shells and missiles located in Israel, and $3.5 billion for Israel's portion of foreign military financing programs through which Israel buys U.S.-made weapons. Tablet magazine super ultra nationalist Zionist conservative UGG refers to U.S. aid to Israel as a lucrative backdoor subsidy to U.S. arms makers. The war in Gaza is only one of the factors contributing to it. However, U.S. support for Israel has turbocharged these commercial relationships over the past year. As per Defense Secretary Austin, the U.S. is sending security assistance to Israel at the speed of war. It is the American genocide in Gaza. We're just doing it through the occupation of Palestine.
Do you guys know what the IDF, backed by the United States, and the RSF, backed by the UAE, have in common? If you said that they're both terrorist organizations that are killing innocent civilians, denying it, and then also documenting their crimes, and also use rape as a method of torture, you would be absolutely correct. Over the weekend on Saturday, the RSF committed a massacre of over 500 Sudanese men and even documented their crimes along the way. And when they were asked why they're killing civilians, they said that they were not killing civilians, that they were killing the Sudanese army and the resistant fighters. They denied it, even though they documented their crimes. I'm not going to be able to share all the pictures, so I'm going to show you these. This picture is of an RSF, I don't even want to call them soldiers, but an RSF soldier lining up mostly elderly men and men for the villages. And in another video, you can see them chasing them in an armed vehicle with machine guns. And in this picture, this piece of shit was abusing an elderly Sudanese man for the fun of it, I guess. 500 men were killed in a single day. And on that same day, on Saturday, over 130 Sudanese women took their own lives because the massive rapes that is being done at the hands of the RSF is so bad that people are willing to take their own lives now. The humanitarian crisis in Sudan has reached an all-time high. 11 million people have been displaced. It is the largest displacement of people anywhere on earth. Half of Sudan's population, 25 million people, are at risk of famine, and diseases is breaking out. Cholera currently is at an all-time high. I want everybody to be aware that the current situation in Sudan is being made worse by the UAE. The UAE has invested $6 billion into Sudan, and they expect a return on their investment, and they want to do it through the RSF because the RSF has promised them access to Sudan's gold, and they also want access to Sudan's access to the Red Sea because the UAE has a lot of traits that go through the Red Sea. So the UAE is funding the genocide of a whole people simply for the resources that country has. It is beyond disgusting. If you are able to donate to help in any way, please donate to Khartoum Kitchen. They are almost at their goal. They're less than 18,000 away from their goal. So if you could donate to them, I would really appreciate that. They're trying to help the hunger crisis that's happening in Sudan. I also have this other GoFundMe in my bio. This one is by the YSI Sudanese Refugee Project, and they're also raising funds to help people that are facing hunger that are Sudanese, but they are located in Uganda.
Palestinians are so dehumanized that we can't even talk real and substantiated shit on our colonizers without their genocidal intent being projected onto us. Their genocidal intent, which they are actively carrying out. And I don't know, maybe this is like the craziest thing you've ever heard. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's within everybody's right to hate what hates life and love what loves life. And when you talk to Palestinians and you see these interviews trying to ask people what they want, the answer is consistent with life. That's what we want. We want life. The armed resistance fighters, too, they have the same answer. And then you talk to your average Zionist. I'm not even talking about the Zionists living on our land currently, not even the IDF soldiers, but any Zionist anywhere. And you're going to hear the most violently racist, vitriolic nonsense that will justify Palestinian genocide. So, like, yeah, respect and sympathy and redemption. It is so incredibly inappropriate to request that of Palestinians. And Palestinians shouldn't be the only people holding that ground. Like, how are you going to respect or trust or keep anyone close that identifies with any of this? Like, oh yeah, don't worry about my buddy Steve over there. He's a really cool guy. He just likes to justify genocide. But I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to offend his Jewish supremacist ideologies. Like, Zionism is a choice, y'all. And people can like deprogram and unlearn, of course. That's the whole point. But we're talking about genociders, and we're talking about people who support it and justify it. I mean, according to them, the best case scenario of what you might find in a Zionist is something like, oh, it's too bad what's happening to Palestinians. If only insert group name didn't do X, Y, Z. In other words, why the fuck did y'all try to liberate yourselves? And all of this makes me think about like how many people actually had the conversations they said they were having back in 2020 about deprogramming racism from their communities and their families and their friends and their networks and their workplaces, whatever. Because I think if the people who said they've done that actually did, then the rest of this wouldn't be so confusing. And they ran the same playbook here with the people of this indigenous land as well. Everything is evident, clear as day.
As an American Jew, devout to Judaism, I beg you all, please, don't call Israel a Jewish state. Call Israel a Zionist state. Call it Herzlstan. Call it however you like. But for the sake of humanity, for the sake of the Jewish people, just stop calling it in the name of an entire religion.
Okay, so yeah, these videos, they were like of maybe like a month or so or ago, okay? But it's still the same energy, it's still the same evil, diabolical thing from these people. And I don't know, it's just like when you see what you see and you see the footage, right? You see it and yeah, so yeah, their energy is like they hate. I hate that word. I hate the hate word. Yeah, but especially what it entails. This is like kill and destroyed and death, and but also it's like coming right back. Like it's kind of like yeah, it's like karma. It's like intense karma. Do you know what I'm saying? For those who have killed, who have murdered, who have blood in their hands. I just heard Spirit said, I hope the money was worth it. Like that one of you. Ooh, you're mad. Yes. Possibilities. Yeah. It's like threatening, painful ending, trying to kill things. A lot of you, this is a very hateful, jealous, envy. That's why I can't stand going in that energy. But Father God wants to, not to go too deep in that energy, but just to show you guys, like you can see their Telegram, you can see like these people are constantly like, I on YouTube recently, like this is really funny. YouTube, you funny. They know that for me is super, it's traumatizing to see soldiers and guns and weird shit and videos and them glorifying themselves, the military, blah, blah, blah. Like that shit, yes. And YouTube allows it here. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? That's terrorism. That's crazy, right? And then we have other people who are flagging our videos because we're showing them the truth. The literal footage of literally the USA bombing constantly the Palestinians, what's happening in the Congo and in the Sudan. Like literally people are upset. Not upset of what atrocities that their government, their money, your money. Yes, yes. Welcome to the, yeah, a lot of you don't want to do this work. You don't want to do the colonization. You don't want to do it. You're like a child. A lot of you, your children dress as grown-ups. Creating a lot of soul ties. Soul ties, soul ties. A lot of you don't even know what soulmate is because soulmate comes with a person, not multiple people. So a lot of you is like, you missed the point. So, yeah. Anyways, what I was trying to say is that these energy is very chaotic, is very, but I also have to show you guys the light. That's what light workers do. That's what alchemists, empath should be doing. I don't know. We're supposed to be use energy for healing and for alchemizing and transmuting darkness. We have 13 months of darkness, calling themselves chosen. I'm talking also with the Christian Zionists as well. You guys are just sad and pathetic. Using God's word to justify killing innocent children because the name Israel is in the Bible. Even like literally 7 months ago, not even before, he's like, Spirit's like, you can delete Israel, you can scratch it. Like, it's just a time in history. It's just a time where that happened and there were lessons there to learn. That he left us lessons to learn to deal with psychopath capitalist billionaires. That they're psycho murderers with money. International law and in the court and all of this, they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. What are they doing? Wondering why? Are we ready to wake up yet? Because we need to. There's been innocent people being murdered literally at this point, and then we still don't see it, right? We're still trying to do this, right? Ignorance, right? That ignorance is bliss. That, oh, let me protect my energy. That's too negative for me, right? Right. It's too negative for you to be there as a witness for somebody who's been abused and killed and murdered. You are their witness. You're telling me that taking a few minutes of your privileged lives, okay, while you're watching tarot, for some of y'all, the tarot readers around here who are fake as fuck, yes, I'm calling you out. I don't give a fuck anymore. It's been 30 months and you haven't read one single thing about what's going on in the world and helping your communities and helping the energies and helping other people deal with their own situations within their own selves and also taking action. Yes, everybody's supposed to be doing that. There's no like, oh, you can relax. Absolutely. Self-care, self-love, mental health for sure. But at the end of the day, our goal, our priority, just like the Francesca from UN, thank God we have someone who's like aware and awake, like, holy cow. You guys are like, please. It's not possible that they really think that we are useless and you guys are just literally like, yeah, sure, we're useless. What? You are children of God. I don't care what anybody has to say. And yes, those billionaires, they are children of God too. But unfortunately, their souls, it's not really there, or their hearts, right? Because they're already given it away. Like, given to get something in exchange. Power and all this stuff, right? So in a way, we're dealing with actual intense demonic diabolical spirits inside these monsters, right? Or are we going to continue being ignorant about that? Are we? Really? We're in for this is why I'm going to dive into the spiritual realm with you, and we need to see it in the spiritual realm. I don't think you guys really understand, and they are expecting for you to not understand. So please like, comment, and share. And I know I'm sorry to interrupt your tarot, your fun time on YouTube and doing whatever it is that you're doing, just so that we can address the situation that we need to, okay? And if you're not that interested, that's okay. Still like the video so other people can find the video. They're actually interested too, okay? You can save the video, you can do what you want, okay? But all I'm saying is that it does help the algorithm, because I am heavily censored before the information and the content that I share here, okay? That is the truth. And that's my energy. Truth, clarity, and justice. Is that not your energy? I'm gonna trigger the shit out of you if you're not in this energy. So Meaning, I project healing, I uncover healing. So for you to find your alignment and get back to where you need to get back to, which is your abundance, your prosperity, your freedom from poverty. That's what decolonization does. A lot of you don't want to do this work. I'm still doing this work, even while I'm doing my own thing and the stuff that I have to deal in the background. We are soldiers, we are revolutionary fighters. We come from legend, prophets and stuff. Like, we need to take our power back. Don't you think? I'm gonna prove it to you why, okay?